Friends, how are you doing? I hope everyone is well. Whether you have $5 or $5,000, you are able to find a good path in this market right now. So, tensions are high because, the atmosphere right now is that the market is going to do even better than where we're at right now. I did not think the market was going to show signs of starting to come to life here, probably to like Wednesday, Thursday at the latest. Today, the market just blew up in all the right ways. I mean, we just had a phenomenal, even pre-market, it was like, oh boy, here we go. And the market just started running here. The S&P 500 is literally, it's a raging fire with gasoline being poured on it. And this is kind of the theory right now where we're going into next week and we're going to see Fed cuts. More than likely, this is what is coming here from what we're being told. And the S&P 500 will have all the momentum, all the push it needs, all the excuses it needs at that point to run to 7,000 plus. Are we going to get, essentially just a 2% jump from where we're at right now, roughly. But are we going to see 5%, 10%, 7,000 plus range on the S&P 500 by the, December 31st? Where are we going to be here? It's very interesting. And with that too, the market is going to drag big stocks, little stocks, medium stocks. It is going to drag everything with it. So this is why swing trading in and out of December here is going to be so probably easy. It's going to be easy. Even things now that are starting to show signs of life again, there is probably positions to be made to where people will, 2-3 weeks from now, whatever the market is running at, you're going to be sitting on some profit here. So it's a very interesting time, and let's get into it. I hope everyone's doing well. I really do mean that. What an exciting time here. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to try not to sit here and talk about Palantir for 2 hours, but I'm just going to mention Palantir because the stock was so aggressive today, and I think I just talked about Palantir yesterday, and I'm still very bullish on Palantir. I think Palantir obviously is long term going to be just fine. This is nothing that we are seeing signs of. It's lacking. We're not seeing signs of this is not going to continue to work. We're not seeing that. It's quite the opposite right now. So this is where I usually do not get confrontational with, people in the sense of like pushing back on a stock. There's only 2 stocks really that I have fought back on aggressively, in conversation here, and that's really SoFi and Palantir, because I do think that these stocks, and I say this because you don't want people to miss out. I would hate to see somebody miss out just because, there's always a person who wants to maybe be a little different and go against the grain here, and I don't know that that's the best thing to do against Palantir. I really don't. If we see Palantir start to slip in, okay, quarterlies are finally slacking a little bit. Deals are slacking a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of a, maybe not so much a pushback, just maybe, we're not moving as aggressive here. We're not in that book yet. I don't know. I don't know when that chapter will show up, but we're just not there with Palantir. We're in very much this very hot, aggressive chapter where, you can't get enough of it, and, you just keep reading and turning the pages here. It keeps getting better. So with that, Palantir shot back up into this middle 170 zone today, and to me, this is normal. I literally just said this 24 hours ago, where 170, 180s are very attainable for Palantir at this point. Very attainable. Market really gets cooking here, maybe next week after that, when the market decides like, hey, we're really going to do something special here. We see the S&P, Dow, everything drag stocks with it. I think Palantir has easy momentum to get back to this 190, even 200. Dan Ives just gave a fresh interview here yesterday, and a lot of momentum that came out of Palantir today came from a lot of articles and what Dan Ives said here. Articles were written off of what Dan Ives said here because he has such a strong presence in the market. Dan Ives pretty much said what he's been saying, that he believes that in the long run, Palantir will be $1 trillion market cap, if not $2 trillion market cap. That this AI bubble, if you want to say, push more or less, we're just getting started here. We're just getting rolling. And, next year's really shaping up to look like a very special year in the market, another special year. How aggressive it becomes, compared to this year, that's yet to be seen here. But even Dan Ives said, he is not going to be shocked to see Palantir breaking the 225, 250 here, within what time zone that comes into here. Those are not numbers that he's thinking are unattainable here. They're very much attainable. And that's kind of where I've been here. Before we had this Q3 here with Palantir, we touched pre-market. Palantir touched like 214, 215. I think somewhere around there it touched it, and then when the quarterly came out, that's kind of was lackluster. And then Michael Berry came out and said, and then we just lost the market completely. But Palantir there's a lot to come here with this stock. I don't even think we understand fully what this company is going to do, what it looks like 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. I think we're such in a youthful stage right now of where this company is going and where the stock is going. I mean, we're literally talking about something that could have, if things keep going the way they are, with them getting deals, with them, the stock running up, all this kind of stuff, the partnerships, we're talking within the next 2 years, a stock split. Could we be talking about 2 stock splits? This is not as crazy as people may want to make it out to be. People that are dramatic in the market and people that are very much like, I love drama in the market, the right kind of drama, but I love, when people are like, well, that can't happen. Have you been in the market for the last 10 years? The last, 5 years, let alone this year, for God's sakes, have been some of the craziest movements, things we've seen in the market last year, this year. I mean, my God. So anything's possible. What this AI movement has showed us in the market, and this pertains to BigBear, this pertains to Richtech here, the Mag 7, all of it. This AI push, what we're seeing here, the rule book has not been made. We do not know. We are watching progression every single day, every single month of something new here in quarterlies, revenue, of how these companies are finding pockets, fields, worlds of money right now. And that's very much what we're seeing right now. So, I don't believe this theory. I don't buy into this of like, well, it's going to pop. There's not going to, the AI craze is going to run down. What are you talking about? What's left? This is it. This is me, your child, your grandchildren, grandchildren. Like, this is it. This is going to be the market. Now, yes, it will have different moments of push, but tech, AI, whatever you want to say here, this is it. This is what the future beholds to investors right now. So it's going to look different. It's going to morph into different things, mutate into different kind of companies and things that we don't even know about yet. But essentially, friends, I say out to say, like, be excited about where this market is going. That we are, we're 30 days of some very significant trading right now. And whether you're swing trading, option trading, day trading, long-term trading, there's something here for everybody right now. And it's a very, very exciting time. I mean, if you're not excited about this market, man, this is literally the Hail Mary play. This is like investors are at the end of the game. It's the fourth quarter. We are a minute on the clock here, and this is our last moment, and it looks like we got open field, and we're about to just toss this thing here. So this is kind of where the market's at right now, and we've got a complete green light. I mean, we got the best quarterback. It looks like it's going to happen. Rate cuts are coming, and the market's saying, hey, we're about to go here. So that's kind of the theory, what we're pushing on here with all of this, friends. Let's talk about BigBear. Let's talk about Richtech. Palantir, obviously, what more can I say? I didn't want to talk about it too long, but I think I did. I'm very bullish on it. And think about the long term of Palantir. Don't think about a month from now. Think about what's coming here. Palantir by summer can easily be 200 what? 200 what? I think that's a very realistic situation. We're talking about by June of 2026, we're 2 more quarterlies deep at that point, maybe 3, going into 3 so that'd be around like Q2. So that's 3 more quarterlies. Okay, Q4 we already know it's phenomenal. Q1, Q2, starting of the new year, Lord only knows what we're looking at here with Palantir. So yeah, talking about Richtech a little bit here. I'm still very bullish on where Richtech can go, and I swear like I was listening to more people on Wall Street this week and what they were saying, and Robotics is still a very hot topic, and I do think that there is a market that will be starting here somewhere, either in 2026, the beginning of 2026, the middle of 2026, the end of 2026, the beginning of 2027. Who knows? But robotics here are going to be a huge push in the market. I think this will mostly start when we see Optimus come to market. However, that looks, whatever it's going to look like. And Optimus is Tesla's robot. So, as far as we know right now, just from what we know, public knowledge here that we're being told, Optimus will be presented to the world here in 2026. Okay. Now, how essentially, even Elon, the last time he publicly talked about Optimus here, Optimus, you have to somewhat think about this as like the first robot here, like Adam, which is funny because one of Richtech's main robot is called Adam, but Optimus here that will come to market for Tesla. How will Optimus blow up the market for robotic stocks? What will this transform into with things like, getting people's attention on TikTok, social media, to where, like people are like, we saw this when the EV market took off, back in 2016, 17, 18, those were hot years for EV stocks. I mean, anyone with $10 billion was starting a EV company. I mean, it really was. I mean, there were so many within that time zone. It was almost impossible not to make money off a lot of them because there were companies merging with each other and then going to the market, having extreme runs in that stock, and then obviously a lot of them went under. They're not, most of those EV stocks, essentially almost 10 years ago, they're not even around anymore. They're not even here. A lot of them just went under, and Tesla still is sitting here reigning as champion. Now, I'm not going to talk about Tesla because I could talk about Tesla for hours, but I think this is a moment here where, listen, when we talk about Richtech as the company, I know there is issues when we talk about, finances, when we talk about not a very big company, when we talk about, is the juice worth the squeeze, and how long is it going to take for me to get even, half a glass full with me squeezing the juice here from the orange? Maybe a while. I don't know. But one thing that is so interesting about Richtech here is that it hasn't had a huge moment in the market. Now, obviously, just, a month and some days ago, Richtech had a push to $7. And a lot of that came off of this year stuff that had been happening where, NVIDIA, Richtech here partnering together, even so far as Jensen openly, publicly talking about Richtech. And Jensen here, the CEO of NVIDIA, has been talking about robotics a lot. And I expect that to fully continue. And I somewhat think that's going to be a huge part of what we are going into with 2026 market, where I don't know what the theme of next year is in the market. I think there's an easy conversation to say that bank stocks, ETFs, are going to do hefty numbers, hefty push next year because of, we're going into potentially this third rate cut. Looks like it's solid. But two, Jerome Powell's going to be out. He's going to be gone. And we're going to have someone in there who's going to fight for more rate cuts. This is obvious. Okay, so with that, that's going to do well for bank stocks, probably REIT stocks, ETFs, a lot of that kind of stuff. But with that conversation too, NVIDIA being such this dominant force in the market right now, is this a moment where, and this is what Jensen has been saying, and I think a lot of this has been like breadcrumbs too, where he is saying, hey, there is a huge market. This is literally, kind of what he's been saying, not the same language, but technically this is what he's been saying. There is a untapped market here with robotics, and robotics are a huge place in the future here with the stock market, with people, everything. They're coming no matter what. The robotics market will be here. And this is not going to be the robotics market of what we've had. This isn't, when I'm talking about robotic market, I'm not talking about the dirt devil going around your house and vacuuming. I'm not talking about that. I'm not even talking about robotics in a factory, with the huge arms and putting cars together. Yes, those are robotics. What we're talking about is humanoid robots, or things that, like Richtech, are, examples of robots, maybe not so much humanoid figured, but still, Richtech, on a bullet point board here, what it is essentially, they are service robots. Richtech makes service robots. So Richtech openly is talking about, these are robots for cleaning, hotels, service robots in the sense of, behind a cocktail bar or a restaurant. And if you're having trouble kind of visualizing this, it's not that hard. They have robots doing this now, and where they're headquartered in Las Vegas. Essentially, the robot goes in that place, and everything is right there with that robot. I think this is kind of what we're looking at in 5 years, and this is more of maybe a tender-hearted conversation about where things are going for the future and more jobs being lost. But imagine 3, 4, 5 years from now, and that's a chunk of time. I get it, but imagine where Richtech is able to get their self in position where they can start having their robots maybe in restaurants where 80, 70, 80, 90% of the restaurant is, or whatever it is ran by robots. Think about that. It's not that crazy because most people now, they don't use cash to pay. Okay, well, that makes that even better. Card or whatever currency is looking like in 5 years. And I'm just shooting out here. I'm shooting time out. Really think about this. Think about when and this was a moment ago, but think about when restaurants like McDonald's in particular brought the screen in, and people were freaking out about the screen. They were like, the screen? You mean I can't just walk up there and take my order? So now that's pretty much a legit thing in restaurants. Even when you go sit down in a restaurant now, they bring you the little screen and you can order off of it. You can pay off of it. It's just going to keep progressing that way. And robotics, whether we like it or not, this is happening. I don't want to be like, I know this is sad for the human race, but this is like, it's going to happen regardless. You're going to see fast food restaurants immediately somewhere in the future. They're going to be ran by robots. It's happening. It is going to happen. I'm not going to get into detail about like some of them might be ran better, but this is what's going to happen here. And Richtech is very much laser beaming on this kind of market right now. So this is where I look at robots, the robotic market going in 2026. Do we start to get a taste of what's coming here? And it's not so much that Richtech needs to start making millions and millions of dollars here. How many stocks do we know of? How many companies with open, public traded stocks that you can buy into that are companies, some of them which are still not even making a profit? They're still struggling. But it's this thought process of, the market's going to come. The market's going to get there. And some of these stocks are crazy. I mean, there's plenty of there's plenty of AI companies like that. There's plenty of companies that we can look at like that, but even automated system companies are going to be hot topics because, look at something like Carvana, for God's sakes. Even this whole conversation about open door, these are just things that are more automated to where, people don't have to deal with people, and they're just ran supposedly smoother. This is one reason why SoFi Bank is getting a lot of attention. There's no brick and mortar store. You don't have to deal with people. It's all set up. Boom, right there. Download our app, make an account. It's free. Hey, we'll help you. Boom, there's the service. we're seeing more of this automated world show up here, whether we want it or not. And, I believe that robotics is really like the next big push in this. So, friends, listen, I don't know how fast, how aggressive Rich Tech gets here. Now, do I think Rich Tech can start to get more attention going in 2026? The stock price can rise up to a minimum of $4 to $6. Yes, I think that's a very easy, attainable place that Rich Tech can get here. But obviously, too, talking about long-term position, I think you need to watch Rich Tech 100%. Even so much that Nvidia walks in here again and does something with them. I don't know how much more aggressive that partnership will get. But two, Jensen has been talking a lot about robotics. Literally every time he has an interview, I swear he says something about robotics, and he's very excited about it. So I don't know if they have something up their sleeve with it, with Rich Tech. I don't know. But it is something that we're hearing about more and more and more. And two, the stock's been doing well. It's starting to come alive again here. And, if we could get a target price somewhere around $4 to $6, even $5, I think is attainable, especially pushing into January when they have quarterlies. I don't think this is too far, off the rocker at this point. So we'll see what happens here. Big Bear. Very excited of what we're about to see with Big Bear. I think Big Bear is going to have a good month. I am truly believing, obviously, I've said so much about Big Bear here. I'm so bullish on it 100% that it's going to have a spectacular year. I think 2025 has been a great year for it. But talking about the stock here, the price, like I said, I'm very curious to see. This week, obviously, today was a good day in the market, but I'm very curious to see what the rest of the week pans out to be. But next week, when the Feds talk, when we see, hey, we get this rate cut, I think everyone at this point is looking and watching what the S&P 500 is going to do. What is going to be the fuel that ignites it to where it can just take off? And it's really, we're talking about 150 points at this point. It's not a whole lot it needs. It's darn near there, getting where it needs to be for, record breaking into that 7,000 point range. But this too, this is where the conversation comes up, where as the market progresses here, it will drag a lot of stocks with it, and especially AI stocks that are still the main topic and main spotlight of the stock market. I could easily see Big Bear running back up into a $6-7 position. And two, by the time we get into January, Christmas is going to fly by here before we know it. But by the time we get into January, guess what we're going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about quarterlies. Now, this next quarterly with Big Bear, as of right now, we kind of have a rough estimate here. The last quarterly wasn't terrible, and I say that because it could have been a lot worse, if that makes sense. But if Big Bear can kind of maintain this 31 to 33, $34 million quarterly range, God willing, I think it'll be a win, and it'll keep investors happy. It's the expectation of what's coming here. And I dare say, but Kevin is pretty much dangling the carrot in front of us here with that memo that came out where, he talked about working with border security, more defense deals, and generally just working on deals in general. Big Bear's hungry, and they're obviously going after big money. Something has really change in this company. It's obviously from leadership, and I think we are in the stage of watching something very special here. So I say all that to say, Big Bear, we've had a handful of great runs this year with Big Bear. There's been a lot of great swing trades in it. There's been a lot of great moments in it. There's been a lot of great moments to build up positions in it at a very low rate. It wasn't too long ago where this thing fell back down to, a $4 range, and those were moments of buying opportunity. So I say all that to say, there's people that are bag holding, there's people that are in profit, there's people that are right where they want to be. There's a big mixture in here of investors, but nonetheless, Big Bear is but deals away from really getting into some bigger and better revenue here, and that's going to show up at some point this year. And when it does, man, you want to see everyone take the ride with Big Bear here, especially if you've been here for a minute. You know, you want to see people do well off of it. Friends, I want to wish all of you the best of luck. Man, be excited about this market. This is awesome what we're watching right now, the stock market. So we'll see what happens here. Things are changing. I think we're going to get this rate cut, and it looks like we are getting the rate cut from what's being said here. I mean, people even in Wall Street are, you know, betting into this right now that this is going to happen. So, friends, I will talk to you soon, and let me know what you're doing in the comments. I'm curious, do you think we're going to get this rate cut or not? I'm bullish that we're going to get it. I'm going along with the crowd here. Say what you want, but I'm thinking that we're going to see a rate cut here. God, I hope we're going to see. That would be the worst. That'd be the worst. Bye, everyone.